So now I think we understand what gamma is, at least on a high level, and how it affects our images. But let's talk a little bit about what this actually means in practice. So for example, a really common application is that I have a color. So here I am at Wikipedia, and I'm looking at my standard color checker colors. And I'll scroll down, and I want to apply this kind of bluish green color. Okay, I want this exact color applied to this sphere. All right, so let's take this color. I'm going to copy it, copy that hex value, that is. Come over here and click on the diffuse color box. We're going to select the hex value for that diffuse color, paste it in, and hit enter. That's going to give me a color, but that doesn't look quite the same, right? Let's go back and put those side by side. Can you see how this color is substantially darker than this one? Now the lighting kind of weirds this out. It makes it hard to see. One thing that's always helpful to do is set your diffuse amount up to 100% just so you know you're getting the pure color. And then look right in the middle here. See how much darker this color is than that one? Well, that's because this color has been gamma 2.2 corrected on our screen. But then when it gets fed into Modo, remember our output gamma is gamma 2.2. So it's taking the color that we grabbed from the web and it's brightening it by gamma 2.2. So what we have to do, just like we did with our color checker in the last video, is we have to de-gamma this color. We have to actually take this color and make it darker, effectively, in order for it to work. So there are a couple of ways that we can do this. There's kind of a Modo fancy way, and then there's the easy way that I tend to use if I need to do this in a hurry. Here's the way that I do this if I need to do it in a hurry. I hop over to Photoshop, and I will show my palettes here. Let's grab the color picker. I'm going to paste in my hex code there. Take that value, and then I'll just select an area here. I'm going to fill it with that color using Alt Backspace just to fill that color. And then I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustments, and down to Exposure. If I can find it. There it is. And then we set our gamma correction to 0.45. That's going to darken this color, right? Same as we were doing when we were applying gamma in Modo. Then I will use my eyedropper, holding the Alt key. I'm going to use my eyedropper to grab that color. Come back here. I'll copy this hex value. Go back to Modo. We'll go back here, we'll select our hex again, we'll paste in that darkened color, hit enter. And now this result, if we look at it next to our original, is much more similar, right? We put these right side by side and those look like practically the same color. They're perfect. It's exactly what we want. So what we effectively have to do is we have to take these hex values and we have to figure out what their value would be if gamma 0.45 were applied to them. So I've just done it in kind of a hack and slash kind of way. I'll just show you a more analytical way that you can do in Modo if you want to, and that is through the Setup tab. So if you're a rigging guru, you can play with this if you want to. Kind of fun. So what you could do is set up, let's just remove this from our workspace. So we have a nice blank workspace to work with. All of this stuff. All right, so now we'll go to our shader tree, and I have my base material here. I'm going to drag that in to my workspace here, and our diffuse color RGB, we're going to need those. And then separately, we're going to need another color. Okay, next let's go to Add Layer, Processing, Constant. And this constant is going to represent our color. So let's actually just take this. I'm going to hide it because we don't want it to show up on our object. We just want to use it for calculation. Let's take this color and drop it over here. And we're going to need the RGB values for that as well. So let's grab the color RGB, put these over here. And then in our constant, let's look at our properties. And let's go back to our website here. And let's grab a different color this time. I'll grab this blue one. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go over to my color. I'm going to paste it into the hex value. So now we have a color. And in fact, if I show this, we'll go back to my render tab. We're going to see that the color renders too bright, right? This is the original color here in the web browser. Here's what it looks like in Modo, way too bright. We need to darken it, right? We need to apply that gamma adjustment to it. So we'll go back to our Setup tab here. What we need to do, I'm going to hide this constant. We're going to take its RGB values, darken them, and feed them in to the color for the material. All right? So we'll add a modifier. And this is a math modifier. And it's down toward the bottom, and it's called power. All right? We're going to do a power function for each of these channels. And in fact, let's just duplicate this twice. So we have 2 of these guys, or 3 of them, I should say. And on each of these, in the channels, we want the exponent to be 2.2. Now, this is applying a power curve of 2.2 to each one of these guys. So I'll take my R, drop it in there, and then drop it back out the other side. G, drop it in here, drop it back out the other side, and finally to the other one over here. We'll go back to our render tab. Now we're feeding in a darkened version of this. So if we go here, you'll see this color now matches pretty much perfectly. Now if we look at our setup again, so let's grab one of these power functions and take a look at what's going on here. First of all, we have an input. It's set to 0, but really this gear is telling us it's coming from somewhere else. If we select our RGB values over here, we can see actually what it's getting is 0.38 is the value that's coming in. Then the power function is being applied, and then the output is 1.22. So it's actually darkening the red channel, and it's doing that for each of these channels, and we end up with the correct result. So you geeks out there, you can do that if you want to in your rigs, or you everybody else like me, mere mortals, we can just copy and paste these things into Photoshop, make the adjustments we need to, and apply the adjusted colors. Either way, glad we understand Gamma a little bit better now, and I think we should be able to jump in and actually start setting up a scene.